If you ask your average metalhead who has the best album covers, they'll of course say,
Maiden, Maiden, Maiden.
And that's for good reason. Their mascot Eddie is such a great character to call their own. In fact, if it wasn't for Eddie, I doubt Iron Maiden would be such an iconic band in not just metal, but pop culture. I don't say this to undermine the band's talents. I say this to emphasize how important marketing is. Many other bands in metal and hard rock have their own mascots. Motorhead have Snaggletooth, Megadeth have Vic Rattlehead, Dio had Maury, Danzig has the Christ-Star Skull, Overkill have Charlie, I can go on. But none of them even come close to Eddie the Head. He has such an iconic design that is so versatile. He can be an Egyptian god, a cyborg, a samurai, a tree, a gamer, ugly, and despite Eddie's missteps, it's hard to argue with. I mean, I'll always like Judas Priest more musically, but their covers are nowhere near as good. While they have their fair share of good ones, they're not consistent at all. Stained Class may be a masterpiece, but that doesn't stop the album cover from looking like the Silver Surfer getting a But today I thought I'd go through all of the band's artwork to really see if they have the best album covers. Now keep in mind, I'm not an art critic. I'm not even really a music critic, so don't take it that serious. This is just for fun. Also, the music itself won't really come into it. There's some albums I hate with some really great artwork, in fact, so let's just take it by the artwork. First up, my favorite Maiden album with my favorite Maiden lineup. Send your hate mail to the US Embassy. This is incredibly simple, and Eddie looks a tad off to how it looked later. His face is bulkier and more vertical, but I still love it. It didn't need to have a gimmick to it. It just needed to introduce Eddie, and Derek Riggs did a great job. He looks as disgusting as ever, and Paul Di'Anno has even commented that Eddie looks like a punk here, which I'm sure pisses off Steve Harris, but whatever, who cares. I also love the night sky behind him, the symmetry of the moon and the streetlights, and having this record be self-titled was such a good move, because with the band logo like that, which is iconic in its own right, taking up so much space with no other text distracting it, looks so awesome. Next up, Killers. Here we see Eddie had a bit of a makeover, and with some exceptions, this is the Eddie design we see used today. There's not much of a gimmick here either. The album is called Killers, and Eddie is killing someone. Pretty straightforward, but again, it's the execution. I love the sparse use of color. It makes it pop with the street light on Eddie, the blood on his axe, and the windows behind him all different colors. I especially love in the background, way far away, we see a, quote, kinky sex shop. Good luck trying to read that in your cassette tape. Number the Beast once more is another improvement. It's in Hell, or perhaps Judgment Day. We see the devil puppeteering a little Eddie, but the real Eddie is the real puppeteer controlling the devil. And the details in the bottom look so good. I can only imagine how long Derek Riggs spent on this. What a legend. Peace of Mind is a slight downgrade. It's still iconic, of course. There just isn't much to sink my teeth into as much as the last two albums. I mean, I love the pun of the title combined with the cover itself, and it's still primo t-shirt material. It just feels like it's missing something. Power Slave, oh boy, we are back. This feels like a response to Peace of Mind because there is so much detail easily missable. I can imagine many young metalheads back in the 80s staring at this record for hours and hours. The logo and album title are smaller, but just so the majesty of the illustration can shine. So many points of interest, it's a little insane. Also, lol, the staircase is going into his balls. Somewhere in Time comes dangerously close to being too busy, but me being a big fan of Blade Runner, I can excuse it. The references to 22 Acacia Avenue, the first album cover, and even how the clouds open up the night sky and with the moon and how it looks like an Eddie eye. Apparently this wasn't done on purpose, but it's still really cool. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son I'm not too into. I don't know, this is also my least favorite of the 80s, so maybe this has something to do with it, but this one never did much for me. I like the return of the big logo and it looks good in yellow and blue, but the teal covering the whole illustration looks too cool and placid for a heavy metal record. If one for Eddie, this would look like an album for Yes or Styx. I also can't really tell what the hell is going on. Why is Eddie missing his dick? Why is he holding a pink starburst? These are questions only a therapist can answer. No Prayer for the Dying, like the album itself, is a bit of a throwback to the band's early years with something more stripped down and simple. And while I think the album itself is kind of underrated, this album cover is just whatever. Not only is there nothing to it even somewhat memorable, Eddie looks off, and it seems to be lacking polish. This looks like a first draft. Fear of the Dark I'm mixed on. I like this Eddie fine enough. He looks cool and disgusting. I like the dark blue mixed with the black, and I like the Fear of the Dark font, but I really dislike how the artwork gets cut off with a gradient to black that takes up almost a third of the album cover. Also, he's a fucking tree. I'm sorry, that's just a dumb concept. It's done well, but he's a fucking tree. The X Factor. Oh boy, poor Blaze Bayley.
I fucking told ya! Right, I fucking told ya!
Can you see? Can you see?
I like the concept of this one, but Eddie just looks so wrong. I like how disgusting he looks, but he almost looks too disgusting. Like, unfinished. Why is the logo so stretched? Why didn't they put Yannick on the album cover? He looks enough like Eddie. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason he's still in the band. Virtual 11, again, I like some of it. I love this take on Eddie. I love the illustration and this yin and yang thing going on, but they totally neutered the logo. Just, why? Also, this kid wearing a virtual reality headset, having the demon Eddie get at him is very boomer, and I just can't take any metal record with a game of soccer on it even somewhat serious. It should have been the Virtual Boy. Brave New World is okay, but I'm not a fan of the switch to more digital looking artwork, and the blues and choice of fonts seem more like a Dream Theater record. Then again, by this point, Maiden was basically trying to be Dream Theater. Dance of Death. Oh no! Just look at this. Do I even need to say anything? The original artwork looked like this, but manager Rod Smallwood thought it looked too barren, so he hired someone from their websites to add characters around Eddie. The artist then asked to have his name removed from the album credits after the band insisted on using an unfinished version. Bruce later called it embarrassing, and for good reason. Jesus Christ. For a matter of life and death, it just looks weird. I can't tell if they're trying to go for something more realistic or with the more comic book art style with these thick outlines around all the characters. It hits weird middle ground. Not a fan at all. Now, Final Frontier is their best album cover in a long while. It's obviously digital, but in a way that doesn't look too digital, if that makes any sense. I like the color palette, the almost see-through logo, and this is one of my favorite Eddies. He's so gross looking. I used to have a cardboard cutout of this album art that was like 5 feet tall that I grabbed out of someone's garbage when I was like 13, and I loved it so much. I can't find any pictures of it, but it was the centerpiece of my room, and I was bummed when it eventually fell apart. Too bad about the album itself, though. The Book of Souls is just bleh. The Eddie itself is really good looking, but there's literally nothing else to it. This is one of the best Eddie designs in years, but he's got nothing to do. He's just standing there posing for his driver's license. I'm glad that the original logo is back, but that's enough to make up for the lack of any background. Senjutsu is a bit better. I like the distressed logo and this Eddie as well, but once more, there's nothing else. Besides, holy shit, is that a gradient? And that's all the studio albums, but I'm not done yet. Let's have a look at the live albums. Made in Japan is okay, but it's so obvious that they didn't give Derek Riggs much time or budget for this one. Also, this alternate cover with Eddie holding Paul's decapitated head is kinda lame. Live After Death, thankfully, is one of the band's all-time best. I love the Lovecraft quote and the mixture of dark blue and yellow, just so classic. It's almost too good artwork to be on this live album. For Made in England, I quite like the original. Seeing Eddie on a motorcycle is a basic concept, but I'm surprised it's not done more often because it looks really cool. There's not as much polish as Live After Death, but it's fine, I guess. I just really don't like how off-center it is on the album version. It feels like this was designed for home video in mind, first and foremost, and that's a little lame. And I don't like the reissue cover at all. It just feels like a poorly expanded upon version of the Trooper's single art. Live at Donington is almost cool. I like the concept of this big winged Eddie, but the face just looks really off. I just can't help but laugh. I mean, fucking look at them. A Real Live Dead one, both of them are not great at all. They're missing a lot of polish and Eddie looks really off. Rock in Rio is kind of creative, but it would be better if we saw more of the band performing with Eddie over them. BBC Archives, like A Real Live Dead one, has the same off-looking Eddie that looks like it was done on the cheap. Beast Over Hammersmith would be better if it, again, also wasn't done on the cheap. It's a shame because this is honestly my favorite Maiden live album along with Made in Japan. Death on the Road is kind of cool, but the horses look off. Flight 666, okay, there's Eddie, but why is he dressed like a normal guy? And who are the rest of these geezers? In Vivo is cool, it's pretty much what I wanted Rock in Rio to be. Book of Souls live chapter is just so whatever and lazy. And Nights of the Dead just looks weird. What the hell is going on here, guys? Oh, you want the singles too? Oh, Christ, okay. Let's take this era by era. Hey guys, I just want to jump in mid-edit here to clarify that for singles, I'm only using the singles that were posted to the Iron Maiden websites under the singles tab just to make it easier, because there are so many alternate single covers and all that kind of stuff, and it just becomes overwhelming after a point. Besides, with some exceptions, most of them look pretty similar anyway. So just so you know, I'm using what Iron Maiden themselves consider to be the definitive versions of the covers of the singles, if that makes any sense. For the first album, classic. Running Free is great because it was released before the album, so it showed Eddie in the shadows, so you couldn't see his face. Then the album came out and holy shit, he's hideous! Sanctuary is great because fuck Thatcher, same goes for Women in Uniform. I also love the sepia-toned theme of all this era's singles. For Killers, like with the main album cover, we see the artwork fall more in line with what we know of Iron Maiden visuals. Purgatory is especially underrated in the canon of Maiden art. For Number of the Beast, it's unmistakably good, but I don't know, they feel a little too close to the cover of Number of the Beast itself. Like the first album is a consistent theme for the singles, but they also feel different to the debut's artwork. And these don't. Does that make any sense? No? Okay. Peace of Mind is great too. The artwork for the Troopers may be as iconic, if not more so, than most of their actual album covers. Similarly, with Power Slave and the artwork for Ace is High, my dad used to have this on picture disc and I loved looking at it as a kid. Live After Death? What the hell is going on here and who the hell are these guys? Somewhere in Time's Wasted Years is a tad underwhelming, but Stranger in a Strange Land goes hard. Seeing Eddie decked out in full Blade Runner regalia with a hat and trench coat is one of the most underrated Eddie looks. I was really glad that they brought it back on this latest tour. For Seventh Son, I like the theme well enough, but they feel a bit samey. And besides Clairvoyance, which goes ridiculously hard, the others felt a tad goofy. Infinite Dreams from Made in England? Yawn. No Prayer for the Dying? What the hell is going on here? Fear of the Dark, they just gave up for some reason. Be Here Could Be Dead is stupid, Wasting Love is a close-up of a tattoo. And who the hell are these guys? Our Real Live Dead Ones singles are marginally better. I used to have this one as a t-shirt, and Steve's never looked better. And for Hallowed Be Thy Name, that's a bit of a dick move towards Bruce. For the X Factor, I actually like all these more than the actual album cover, especially Man on the Edge. This version of Eddie looks great from this angle. Then we have Virus. Okay, that's enough of Virus. Virtual 11? What the fuck? The cover for Angel the Gambler is almost as painful as the song is.
Don't you think I'm a savior? Don't you think I could save you? Don't you think I could fucking kill you myself?
And Future Real? I have no words. Brave New World has the Wicker Man, which goes hard, but Out of the Silent Planet looks pretty ugly, and this guy looks familiar. Dance of Death? Now this one is lazy. A screen grabber from a video that gives the Angel and the Gambler video a run for its money. And this is literally just the original Trooper single cover. Come on, guys. For A Matter of Life and Death, we have the reincarnation of Benjamin Breek, which looks pretty cool. Gives me Fear of the Dark vibes and Different World. Oh god. I'm a fan of Final Frontier singles. I love this comic book aesthetic. Book of Souls is boring. Like, wow, good job, you found the desaturate tool. Senjutsu is better, but forgettable, but they released Total Eclipse as a single in 2022. A song that was supposed to be on A Number of the Beast, but was instead of B-sides Run to the Hills. And yeah, it's a great song that should have been on the album instead of Ganglands, that's for sure. And the artwork is decent enough for one of Maine's best kept secrets. You want more? Okay, EP-wise we have Who the Hell Are These Guys? Who the Hell Are These Guys? And Who the Hell Cares? The compilations too? Okay, it's giving this picture of all the Jokers. This is just a picture of Yannick Gears. It's giving those boomer Facebook memes where Charlie Brown is like giving the finger or something. Also, where does Eddie want me to put those irons up? This one actually goes pretty hard. Who even cares? Who even cares again? And god, is that what Eddie's feet looks like? Okay, I'm done. Unless you want me to review Eddie's head. Overall, Maiden have a lot more misses album cover wise than a lot of people want to admit. But the stuff that is good is so good it almost makes you forget about this. So, do Iron Maiden have the best album covers? Nah, Battle Axe takes this one. But yeah, that's all I guess. What band do you think have the best album covers? And what's your favorite and least favorite pieces of Iron Maiden artwork? Until next time, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the bell to ensure I can pay off my debts to the mob for buying this fucking Eddie head. I swear to god, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. But until next time, take it easy, party people.